Good evening, everybody. You might be expecting a podcast, but we had a few technical issues whilst we were trying to record it last night. Mild bit of rage and some equipment that hasn't survived. But anyway, instead I thought, rather than putting out nothing this week, we'd give you a bit of a tour of some of the cars at Ignition. We talk about them a lot in the podcast. I've done various road trips with them, and some of them are not been around that long, but some have owned for a little while. So it's an opportunity to give you guys a bit more of an in-depth tour. And if the weather's better tomorrow, I might take a few of them out for a drive and insert some video clips of that as well. Okay, the weather wasn't good enough today to record the cars out and about, unfortunately. But if you'd like me to do a video on that, please comment, and I'll try and get some videos done of the cars out and about, a bit of a review on the road as soon as the weather is good enough. So let's have a look, see what we've got going on here. There's a few of these cars here are mine. Some of them are customers' cars. The car I've owned the longest is actually up on the ramp in a very, very sorry state at the moment, which is a 1998 Alfa Romeo GTV V6. It was my first Italian car and really started the sort of me down a process of self-destruction that I'm now at with all these cars. But of all the ones here, the 4C is actually the one I've owned the longest. It's actually the second 4C I've had. It's a bit of a misunderstood car. People don't really know much about them. When they first came out, the initial sort of press images, everyone was really blown away by it. It was going to be this lightweight, carbon-tubbed sports car, but it got a bit of a bad rap. The handling, especially on the early cars, for the feel through the steering, and the front end was really jittery, especially on UK roads. A lot of people really gave it a hard time over that. But my experience of Alfa Romeos is you need to treat them almost as sort of semi-built kit cars. They come with all the right ingredients, but they just haven't finished them off well enough. I think they just don't have the kind of development budget that people like Audi or BMW or Porsche have on really refining these cars. So although there's sort of always work to do on Alfa Romeos to get them to be the car you want them to be, that's also part of the charm, part of the character from my perspective, or that's just the excuse I tell myself to justify it anyway. So as technology's moved on over the last 11 years since this car came out, tyre technology's improved. Also, change of manufacturer is a real benefit in these cars. They initially came with Pirellis. On UK roads, they really suit a Michelin well. It transforms the whole sort of grip on the car and the experience over the bumpy, rutted roads with mixed conditions. A couple of companies have developed front alignment changes. They fit in camber plates on the front suspension, which really helps it from tracking ruts in the road and all that kind of thing, makes it a bit more stable. And this had a stage 1 remap as well, which really makes the car quite fast. It's 300 horsepower. It's somewhere around a ton. Some figures state it lower, some more. People have weighed them and got completely mixed results depending on what year it is. So it's hard to say exactly, but it's around 300 horsepower per ton, which is, pretty fast. It's got a 1750cc turbocharged engine and a 6-speed dual clutch paddle shift transmission. This is a launch edition car, which you can easily spot by these vents in the front bumper. That's what defines the difference from the outside, the launch edition car and one that isn't. It was one of the first 500 cars made. It's got a numbered plaque inside. They came fully specified, so they've got all the carbon fibre options of the headlights, wing mirrors, some bits inside, the rear spoiler. They came with these traditional Alfa Romeo tele-dye wheels and only a few optional colours. This is Rosso Alfa red. And they had a specific interior, so this has got sort of the Alcantara seat centres, red stitching, a few more carbon fibre trims, and there's a numbered plaque inside, which we can get a video image of a bit later. I'm 6'4", and a lot of people say, "How do you fit?" Like this. Bit of a thud as I get in, but actually it's not bad inside. There's reasonable headroom for the driver anyway. The passengers, it's quite compromised by the location of the AC system. But yeah, it's not bad. I wish there was a bit more lumbar support. That's really sort of the key thing, the inside. Steering wheel's not the best shape, but to drive, it's fantastic. The way it loads up into a corner, there's no power steering with this car, and the feeling you get through the front end on the right roads. I'd say it's one of the best cars that I've had a go in across like a mountain switchback with hairpins and all that kind of thing. It's so good. With the turbocharged engine and the DCT gearbox, it almost feels like a slingshot through a corner, the way the boost loads up and fires you out of a corner, and the grip's phenomenal on it. Even in a remapped form like this, it's very hard to get the wheels to spin, even in first gear at full throttle. Grip is really good on this. In fact, on a winter's day in England, wet roads, it's fine. You have a bit of fun with it, but it's not scary at all. So yeah, more room inside than you'd think. An area it doesn't have more room than you'd think is the boot, which is pretty appalling. It's only 90 litres. You can fit a couple of bags in there if you're clever. So the engine, 1750cc, 4-cylinder, nothing special. Although I think it was based on a Giulietta cloverleaf engine, but they actually recast it in aluminium to make it more lightweight. Same thing with the gearbox as well. So it's a lot lighter than the standard engine that car came with. But yeah, underrated, beautiful. Nobody disagrees on that. But to drive, it's a lot better than people think. I've lent it to a few friends, some sort of ignition customers we got to know quite well. I've had a go in it here or there, and they all report back that it's a lot better than they thought it was going to be. Yeah, it's given a few Porsche owners a bit of a scare as well. I think people are a bit surprised how capable this car is. So yeah, that's really a bit on the 4C. If I get a chance, we'll do some videos out in it tomorrow. Next car I'm going to talk about is this Alfa Romeo GTV Cup. Now, myself and Phil, who's also on the podcast, bought this car about 2 years ago. Funny story, I was in a local supermarket in Stamford, and a chap comes walking across the car park to me. He says, "Oh, you want to buy my car, don't you?" And long and short, it was this car. He's had it for a long time. It's been sat for 12 years and not moved. But it was a very low owner car. I think he was either the second owner, and maybe I think the first owner was probably the dealership. It only has 22,000 miles on it. But because it sat for so long, the paint had deteriorated quite a bit. It needed a full mechanical overhaul. So really, we've spent the last 2 years sorting it out. We got it painted, it's had a full respray, gone through it mechanically. So basically a 0 mile service. So every component that you can service has been serviced. Brakes have all been replaced, new tyres. We've had to change the oil cooler because the pipes were corroded on it. Loads of work to the ABS system. That was problematic. The pump was failed. The ECU had corroded and was having problems. We've had to replace sensors. We've really gone through the car, but it's now in a condition where you don't see many of these in. And I'm really sad to say that we're selling it, but I've moved house recently. I've got a lot of things to pay for. I've got another one up there on the ramp, and that one's really where my heart is because I've had it for such a long time. Phil keeps buying cars that he needs to pay for, so sadly it's got to go. But yeah, it's a pristine car now, and it's a GTV Cup, so that's different from the normal GTV. Really, it's more of a styling exercise than anything else. But they did the GTV Cup race series, and they brought this car out to sort of celebrate that as a limited run again. Similar to the 4C, it's got a plaque in it. They made 155 like this. It has different sills, different front lip spoiler. The wheels are finished in something I believe they call black chrome or something like that. It's like an unusual sort of finish. They all came in this colour. The interior is completely different on these cars to the standard GTVs, and they fetch a real premium over a standard GTV because of the rareness and all of that. And I do think the body kit makes them look fantastic. But now this one's in really good form. Everything works. Look, you'll see the window actually drops, which is a proper rarity on one of these actually working. And inside, it's in fantastic condition. You can make out the grain on the leather on the steering wheel and the stitching. Seats are all sort of pristine. The foam's really firm. So yeah, fantastic interior. The new owners can be picking it up at the weekend. Again, like I said before, Alfa Romeos are almost like a half-finished kit car. It's got the right ingredients. The best thing about this car undoubtedly is the engine. So it's the Alfa Romeo Busso V6. It's a really famous engine. If you don't know about them, check them out. They've been in Alfa Romeo since the 70s, and they stopped with 3.2 in the 147 GTA, which is one part behind you, in around 2005. So the engine was out for a long time. It's a really charismatic V6. It sounds fantastic. Power-wise, in this car, I think they're around 220 horsepower, so not massive, but it's certainly enough. And if you look at it, it's a Pininfarina-styled, V6 engined Italian sports car. And if it isn't a Cup model, you can buy one easily for £5,000, which just seems like a bargain century to me. And I think the reason for that is because they're front-wheel drive. Now, for most people driving it, that makes really no difference 90% of the time. But I think it's really hindered the price. If this was a rear-wheel drive V6 engine Italian sports car, you wouldn't be able to get one for under £20,000. That's the reality of it. So I think they're a bit of a bargain. And for most people, that downside you wouldn't really notice. They're generally quite robust and reliable, but they don't like being sat around. So that was the real problem with this car. It'd been sat for so long. There was that's what caused the issues. But yeah, new owner getting it at the weekend. It's been a load of work. It's been finished off by our new mechanic Paul, who will be, starting with us more regularly soon, and we'll be offering servicing and repair works on any customers' cars who might be interested. And I must say the attention to detail and the quality of workmanship that he's got to on this car is really good. We've obviously had to do it to a relative budget because we're now deciding to sell it, and we've already well overspent, on buying it, doing it up versus what we've been able to sell it for. So there's things I would have liked to have done that I suppose we're leaving for the next owner. So the engine on these can look fantastic with a bit of cleaning up and powder coating of some components. That'd be nice. The brake calipers could do with a repaint. That would really sharpen them up. But to make them drive better, you really want coilover suspension, thicker anti-roll bars, and a few modifications to the exhaust and the intake, and then you've got a really special car. But hopefully the new owner will do that and enjoy it. So the final car we're going to talk about today is really my pride and joy at the moment, and it's the 1978 Ferrari 308 GTB in Pino Verde. I can happily say that I've been lucky enough to own two Ferraris. Well, you can decide whether luck is the term. I had a 348 before it, which is viewed as not maybe the best Ferrari out there. I really liked it, but yeah, not always viewed that way. But the 308 is certainly one of the classics. It was the first mid-engined V8 Ferrari, or Ferrari to have a badge on it. The 308 GT4 technically came out first, but that was known as a Dino, not a Ferrari. And it really started the line of cars that I would say now are most commonly associated with Ferrari. Traditionally, Ferrari were front-engine V12 cars, but nowadays, certainly when I was younger, we always thought of mid-engine cars, that silhouette of a mid-engine, maybe an F40 or something, as being a Ferrari, and this is where they started. I think they came out in 1975 with the 308. Originally, it was a fiberglass-bodied car. This is a very early steel-bodied car. I think they started making them in fiberglass because they weren't sure if they were going to be a success. But they sold a lot of 308s. If you include 308 and 328, which is the next model but kind of shares the same body, I think there's somewhere in the region of 20,000 in total made, which is a huge quantity. It was more than all Ferraris combined up to that point when they made this car. So that's how much of a success it was. They brought it out to try and provide a more lower priced Ferrari. The V12s were massively expensive, and this was sort of just slightly more than a 911, so it was viewed as sort of a step up from that direction, which, really it was, and that will annoy Phil, won't it? But yeah, so it's got a 2.9 litre V8 in it. The early cars were dry sumped and carburetted like this, 255 horsepower. They then went to fuel injection in the early 80s, and the power dropped significantly. I think they were something like 204 horsepower from the 3 litre fuel injected car. And then they brought out the Quattro Valvole, I think in 83, 84, and that brought the power back up to 240 horsepower, but still not as much as the early cars. So the early carburetted, dry sumped engine cars, most desirable. The fiberglass bodied ones are really the more of the collector end, they fetch a serious premium, but I think to actually live with, you prefer an early steel-bodied car. Colours make a big difference on them as well. Most of them are red. There's a lot of black ones, a few yellows, some whites, but green is incredibly rare. I'm still trying to find out the exact numbers, but I think there's somewhere in the region of 3 in this colour, Pino Verde. And I think it just sets the car off beautifully, and it's really the reason I bought it. I wasn't looking for a 308. I had a Lamborghini Gallardo at the time, and I wasn't getting on with the more modern supercar. It was too fast for what I wanted to use it for. You're just getting yourself in trouble all the time and being sort of an obnoxious road user. So I wanted something more classic, and then I came across this and I just thought, you know, it's so special. Running ignition as well, it's good to have something rare and unusual, so people react really well to that, and you take it to car shows, people sort of you know, really pay a lot of attention to the car. Bought it 2 years ago. It had just undergone a restoration when I bought it, so the engine had been rebuilt and it had been resprayed. Believe it or not, in the 80s, someone painted it red because they didn't like the green, which I think is, you know, an absolute travesty. But fortunately, somebody, the dealer who took it in part exchange, realised what the original colour was and then had it stripped and repainted back to the original colour, and had an engine rebuilt at the same time. So the previous owner actually spent £50,000 on the work just before I bought it, and the previous owner to him had spent £30,000 in the year before. So this car's had a huge amount of money spent on it. A few things worth pointing out. So originally it was owned by a member of the Bahrainian royal family in London in the 1970s. I believe he was in his late teens and he was there running the Royal Investment Fund. It's a very well specified car, which is unusual for these early 308s. So it's got the sports front lip spoiler, which is not standard. Normally they had a much shallower front lip on them. This has got 16-inch magnesium sports wheels, which again, they're standard, they would have come with 14-inch. Obviously the metallic paint, really unusual, especially in the green. And we've got a biscuit interior, which again was an unusual option. Originally it would have had matching carpets, but we've actually refitted them with green ourselves. Chris, who's behind the camera, thinks it looks like, what do you think it looks like, Chris? You said a avocado bathroom suite, didn't you? Yeah. Very kind. An avocado bathroom suite, but anyway, I think it looks fantastic. I've done a lot of work to it in the 2 years variant, despite it having all this restoration work beforehand. It's been a bit of a labour of love, but I found this when I owned my last Ferrari. It took a good year, maybe 2, to actually make the car usable. Previous owners or owners generally of Ferraris don't use their cars very much, and a bit like the Alfa Romeos, they don't like to sit. And if you only use the car to go to the pub once or twice a year, you can kind of live with a lot of the issues. But if you want to drive to Barcelona or Sardinia like we did earlier this year, or Luxembourg like I'm hoping to in 2 weeks, you've really got to sort out the cooling system. You really want the brakes to work, all these different things that we've gone through. So we fitted aftermarket adjustable coilover suspension to the car. We've upgraded the exhaust. We've had some mods on the ignition system to make that more reliable. We've recently fitted electronic ignition. We've played around with the air conditioning to get that better. We've upgraded the radiator fans, upgraded brakes. It's had a full alignment carried out at a sports handling specialist. I think they're called Centre Gravity. You guys might know them. They're big in the Porsche world. That really transformed the car. Going to have some new tyres on it soon, and then it should be ready for our trip to Luxembourg. Again, you'll enjoy me getting into it. So I'm 6'4", as I said before. I've had to put the seat all the way to the back and adjust it at an angle, and this is an authentic Italian driving experience. Look at this. Oh, right. Very laid back, as you can see. You feel like you're sat in a sun lounger, really, is the best way I can describe it. But if you did anything else, I'd hit my head on the ceiling. Weirdly, it's quite comfortable. I've done a 10-hour drive across the French autoroute in this, and it was fine. It's got a 5-speed dog-leg open gated gearbox, which is fantastic. Makes all the right noises you want as you're going through the gears. Really gives you that experience. I've changed the steering wheel. The original steering wheel is a bit too big. People may not like the Momo Prototipo, but it works really well in the car for me. And I've fitted a steering wheel extender, because otherwise you're a bit, you know, that Italian driving position that everyone talks about. It doesn't really work for me, so that's much nicer. I've also put an upgraded Bluetooth head unit in, but it looks like a classic car stereo, so it kind of blends in well. And generally it's nice in here. Like I say, it has factory air conditioning, which is, again, unusual for a car in the 70s. It works up to about 28 degrees outside, and then over that it stops working. It gets really hot in here because you've got the main pipes from the radiator run down the centre console. And another sort of Italian design feature I discovered, that as you're cruising down the motorway at high speed, the air from the radiator comes out of these vents, blows along and straight into the window. So yeah, when it was 38 degrees down the Autostrada in Italy, it was very warm inside. So that's my project for next year, upgrading the air conditioning to make that reliable, diverting the heat out of the cabin, maybe by insulating those pipes or maybe moving them, so a few jobs there. Quite a practical car though. So unlike the 4C, you can open the front. Now, it should have a spare wheel in here. I don't have one because I use it as extra storage space. So inevitably we have to take tools and spares with us, cleaning equipment, things like that. That all goes in the front there, which works quite well. And then in the back, we have, a bit like the 4C, boot and engine compartment. So you can see the quad cam V8 there. It's got 4 twin choke Weber 40 carburetors on it. Let's say we've recently upgraded to electronic fuel injection, not fuel injection, electronic ignition, sorry. You can tell the very early cars because they're also dry sumped. So some of the early cars are carburetted but not dry sumped, and they'll have an oil filler cap on the rocker cover there, whereas this has got the oil catch cam because it's a dry sumped engine. So that's sort of the optimum setup. You also get this very, very usable boot. There's a bit of junk in there from the last trip, but you can get quite a lot of bags in there. It's really good. The only thing is, especially with the aftermarket exhaust I've fitted, there's no heat shield on it, so anything in the back there gets boiled, and you get a lot of fuel smell and fumes from it. So you have to kind of wrap any luggage up in bags if you're going to take it. But you know, we've done 2-week holidays in this through Europe. Luggage space is not an issue. Really, the only problem with the car is how hot it is inside. So yeah, I find this car a bit of a difficult one, really, because I like to change my cars quite a bit. But with the Ferraris, I've learned now twice, you have to spend quite a lot of time getting them right. So, you know, if I were to change it, then I'm going to go through that pain again. It's difficult. It's probably an era too old for me from what I really want. A 355 would probably be my sweet spot on Ferraris, but I think with the colour of this one and the condition it's now in, it might be a keeper. You know, I'm not far away from it being perfect for me. If I can get the cooling right so that it's not too hot inside, maybe the seats retrimmed, you know, it's getting on for pretty special then. I've done a bit of reading up on getting a little bit more power out of the engine, high compression pistons maybe, and some rated camshafts, and you're looking at more like 300 horsepower rather than 255. I think that would be, you know, a really good sweet spot on this car. I mean, I'm not really bothered about power that much, just sometimes you could do with a bit more when you want to overtake, but cars of this era, you can really enjoy going fast slowly. We've talked about this in the podcast a few times, where there's no point having a fast car if you want to drive it on the roads, because you just get frustrated the whole time, or you end up doing something silly. 250, 300 horsepower, it's a really good number on a road car. You can run it through the gears, it feels fast, it feels responsive and enjoyable. If you've got something a bit older with a character like this, you feel much more engaged with the whole experience. Makes fantastic noise. This one spits flames. The air intake is here, and obviously your head is just here, so you can hear all 4 of those twin choke carburetors roaring as you're going along. You know, it's great, and really the main issue for me has been niggly reliability issues. I think mostly to do with the ignition system, but you know, we've gone through so many bits on this car now, it's a bit like Trigger's broom. I'm hoping it will start to get reliable soon, so we'll give you regular updates. You know, if this video goes down well and you guys enjoy it, please let us know in the comments. And we'll put some more updates out in the future about not just my cars, but Chris's and Phil's, and maybe Ed's, if any of them actually make it down here in one piece. And maybe we'll take you with us on our road trips, whether we're going on in a couple of weeks, and do some videoing on there. So yeah, please comment on what you thought was good. Tell us how we can improve. We want to make good content for you guys. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel, as there'll be more podcasts and maybe more videos like this coming soon. And we'll see you next week, most likely back to normal with the old crew talking nonsense on film. We'll see you soon. Cheers.